Niners just created a bunch of cap space by cutting Jimmy Garoppolo's salary. And he did it because he's just a team player. He could have made $27 million this year, but he was like, hey, I don't want to. It's not right. I want to make less than Trey. Cut my salary, please. And the Niners were like, thank you, Jimmy. That's very generous of you. So now they have cap space because Jimmy's a great guy. And they're saying they're probably going to extend some contracts. Who do you think will be the first person the Niners extend with the Jimmy money? Leo, you're first.
The first person that I think they should extend is probably Emmanuel Mosley. If you look at his 2021 season, it was outstanding. Like literally one of the best in the league. Could have been a Pro Bowler, but he's not a household name. Like if Patrick Peterson had the season Emmanuel Mosley had, Patrick Peterson would have probably been All Pro. Let's be honest about it.
Or Richard Sherman, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, someone with notoriety, of course.
He gave up no touchdowns last season. Yeah. According to PFF, he gave up one. But I looked back at that play. It was zone coverage. The guy scored a touchdown on the other side of the field. I was like, how are you guys counting that to Emmanuel Mosley? The guy at PFF said, oh, it's because he was lined up in front of the receiver before the play.
Shout out. Yeah. Pro Football Reference has him giving up no touchdowns and a quarterback rating of 65 last year. Yep.
Exactly. So yeah. I think it's got to be Emmanuel Mosley because if he does what he did last year, oh my God, that we're talking about a heavy contract now, maybe looking at around $12 million per year or so. Maybe you sign him now, save some money, get him around 8 to 9. And he's a young player. He's still a young player in his mid-20s. I would do it now if I'm the 49ers. And that's obviously not including Nick Bosa in that situation. So my plan B would be Emmanuel Mosley.
That's a good one. Emmanuel Mosley, the first one that pops in my head. I think other than the next person I would probably just think about is just Jimmy Ward. I know right now it's starting off at a bad foot, or I guess a bad hamstring, not a bad foot. But he, that's kind of like what you're going to have to sacrifice. There's going to be like those injuries because I don't know if I'm going to be like that convincing after this year. Are we sure about that? I mean, is he going to look good because of the defense? I mean, you kind of still want that veteran presence, someone that who's that constant, not that variable. And you're not going to be able to replace Jimmy Ward in the free agent market. Or how about let's not try to replace him in the free agent market. You're better off just keeping him than looking for in the draft and just trying to plug and play and hoping that person's going to be hitting the ground running. So Jimmy Ward to me seems like the no-brainer after Emmanuel Mosley. But to be honest, after those two, I don't think anyone else is worth extending. I mean, you got Dre Greenlaw and Azeez Al-Shaair. Those guys are players who need to show it for another year. McGlinchey still needs to show it. Brandon Ayuk's probably someone that people are going to think of, needs to show it. And honestly, other than those two, I see no reason why you want to consider anyone else.
Yeah, good names. The thing with let's talk Jimmy Ward and Mosley. Those are the two obvious ones. First of all, Nick Bosa. I'm sure they'd love to, but they probably going to do it next year. They seem like they do it with 1 year left instead of 2 years left in the deal, and I think Bosa's probably cool with that. So probably won't be him. It'll probably be one of those two DBs. Jimmy Ward's 31, and his hamstring is really messed up right now. So I can understand the Niners being a little hesitant right there for a lot of reasons. Mosley is healthy. He missed a couple weeks with a hamstring pull, but he's healthy. He's 26. He's going into a contract year. He's basically in a lame duck season. He shouldn't have to go through a lame duck year. He's too good for that. He's one of the more important. I think he's a top 10 player on the team. I think he's proven himself. And I don't think he should have to go through a lame duck year where he could get hurt and lose a lot of money. I think they should reward him. I think it should be him. I agree. I think it should be Mosley. He just had a kick-ass offseason. Give him the money. He's the same age as Debo.
You saw him at training camp every day.
Great.
Explain what you saw from Emmanuel Mosley compared to, say, maybe the drop-off of Ambry Thomas if they would lose Emmanuel Mosley in free agency.
Let's put it this way. I mean, everyone was raving about Brandon Ayuk's offseason, how great he was in camp. Mosley played better than him. When they matched up, Mosley got the best of him most of the time. What did you see, Jose, when you were there those couple of times?
Yeah, Mosley. Well, I think Mosley was probably out, I think, when I was there.
Was he out when you were there?
Yeah, it was out. I mean, Ayuk was, straight dusting everyone. But, like Mosley, the way everything just sounded like, to me, it's about what Leo just brought up, Ambry Thomas. It's also thinking about, okay, we'll extend him now because look who you have after that. There's no one after that other than Ward and Mosley. What are you going to do? We got Deommodore Lenoir, who's been okay, but that's preseason. Jason Verrett, who knows with him always being injury prone. So this is a fantastic investment to put on with him.
I could go back and tally up my stats from training camp, although I don't think people care anymore. But I feel like when Emmanuel Mosley was targeted, he was giving up a completion percentage like below 50, 40, and there were a ton of pass breakups. A ton of pass break. Like if you throw at Mosley, if Lance threw at Mosley in camp, the most likely outcome was a pass breakup. And the thing with Mosley, if he could just catch the ball a little more consistently, he'd be a very, very rich man. So again, maybe extend him now before he picks off 4 or 5 passes this year out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden is getting J.C. Jackson money. Sandy will essentially becoming a member.
So you said he's got the Carlos Rogers hands?
Sometimes, a little bit. Sometimes. Yeah, he had a couple that hit him in the chest that he dropped. And it's like, dude, yeah, great pass breakup, great coverage. Just like catch the ball.
Alligator arms.